Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our session at the Digital Library Federation Forum meeting. I'm here with my colleague, Jessica Lemming, and our session will focus on We Were Here, making HBCU collections digitally accessible through grants. My name is Holly Smith, and I'm the archivist at the Spelman College Archives, and my colleague, Jessica, is at the Atlanta University Center Robert W. Woodruff Library. So I'll get us started today talking about the CLEAR grant, and my colleague Jessica will follow up talking about the DPLA grant that Woodruff received. Please excuse me, everyone. Okay, here are the slides. So the Our Story grant began in 2017 and ran for approximately 3 years, which ended just this year in June 2020. It was a collaborative project between the AUC Woodruff Library, Morehouse College, Spelman College, and the Digital Library of Georgia. The project was funded through a generous grant by the Council of Library and Information Resources, or CLEAR, as part of their Digitizing Hidden Collections Archives grant. So thanks to this project, archival collections related to the following schools are easily discoverable throughout the world for scholarship and about various aspects of African American higher education directly after emancipation of slavery through to the 21st century. So the schools that were represented as part of this project were Atlanta University, Clark College, Clark Atlanta University, Gammon Theological Seminary, the Interdenominational Theological Center, Morehouse College, Morris Brown College, and Spelman College. So 2 of the partnering schools, Spelman included, and as well as Morehouse, we did not have a significant amount or little to no content that was digitized prior to the beginning of the project. So this project has been very significant in really increasing the access of collections from Morehouse and Spelman, and that really represent the history not only of the schools, but the surrounding constituents as well. So here is an overview really of the specific accomplishments of the particular project. You can see how many individual pages that were digitized, quite a significant amount, as well as the different types of materials that were digitized, from photographs to theses to dissertations. So just kind of going as an outline, there were almost 1,500 newspaper issues digitized, over 1,200 publications digitized, and over almost nearly 5,000 photographs digitized, with 32 new online collections and historical publications being digitized as part of this project as well. And so there were quite a number of subsequent projects or things that were done. And while this, the digitization was occurring, as well as at the wrap up of the project, there were 2 webinars, which you can access from the content website. We've done blog posts, social media posts across the different schools, social media, as well as conference presentations, such as you're attending now, and as well as articles to really increase and promote the use of these materials and to really create awareness. So the criteria for selection of a content is part of this project. Obviously, if there were no restrictions or use or copyright issues, so all of the content and materials were owned by the particular schools. If the materials were previously processed, so there was existing metadata for each collection as well as description. And we say hidden from wide access. So particular constituents might have known about these collections, but they were not known broadly, the publications as well as the photographic collections, and therefore the access and use was really limited because of this. So we were also looking for things to support the institutional mission as well as connect to the CLEAR's core values as well. So all the institutional participants, we did sign an intellectual property agreement in agreeing to make these materials available for non-commercial, scholarly, and educational use as well. And because the grant does not allow for processing, that was another reason why previously processed collections were selected as well. So this is just a brief overview that will allow everyone to see our subject workflows and partner responsibilities. So you can see the outline for the owners of the content, and as well as the responsibilities for each of the institutions and what was done at each institution, if this would be helpful moving forward for future projects. So you can see as the owners of the content, Spelman, Morehouse, and Woodruff, we played a heavy role on our end for the selection and determining of the criteria. And I have to say at Spelman College, we are a small but mighty staff of two, myself and my colleague, Cassandra Ware. So thankfully we had wonderful students, and often the two project managers for this project at AUC Woodruff, Matthew Owenby and then Aletha Moore Carter, were also able to come and give a hand in terms of the packing up and preparing the collections. And then you can also see that the AUC, our colleagues at AUC Woodruff, created the online digital collections and were responsible for working with the courier to return the content. And our colleagues at the Digital Library of Georgia did the quality control, the metadata creation, and particularly working around the photograph digitization. And then there was an external vendor who did the digitization of the publications and newspapers as well. So here's an overview of the content that has been digitized. Again, there were 16 publications, 10 photographic collections, and 5 newspaper series that were projected for this grant. So currently there are 15 publications, 5 photographic collections, and 3 newspaper collections accessible online. And then you can see the breadth and the depth of the collections here. So just to provide an overview specifically of the Spelman related content, one of the most well-known or well-utilized as well publications is the Spelman Messenger. The Spelman Messenger serves as the official magazine for the campus as well. And it's been in publication from 1885 to the present day. So this is a really significant publication to really see from the faculty and the staff, but as well as they would have articles by students from their perspective of things that were going on. And actually this publication to the left was from, you can see it's from November 1918, in the first month of Spelman Seminary's open, while the pandemic of 1918, the influenza pandemic was going on as well. And to the right, you can see a picture just with some iconic Black women intellectuals and thinkers from Dr. Janetta Cole's inauguration. So you can see how significant these publications would be. Some of our photographs include photographs of faculty and staff, again, from the late 19th century through the early 2000s. Again, very rich photographs that really hadn't previously been seen before. And so you can get an understanding of how the faculty has shifted and changed over time. And another quite rich collection are photographs of our drama and dance departments. So drama has been very strong in the AUC since the 1920s, and it's still a very strong program. Now, the drama and dance departments are separated to theater and performance, as well as a separate dance and performance and choreography department. But this is a really rich collection, probably at least 600 of the photographs dating from the late 1920s to the 2000s of different dance recitals, festivals, and productions. Again, some of these having never been seen before. So these are, again, a particularly rich resource. And last but certainly not least, there are quite a number of photographs that show commencement on Spelman's campus as well as off, as well as an overview of the campus and our buildings and ground collection. So you can really see how the campus has changed and shifted from the late 19th century to the present. So this is just an example of some of the richness and breadth of the collections from the AUC, and specifically related to Spelman. We have quite a bit of users using these for genealogical resources, dissertations, films. So they've been a really rich resource, and particularly in this period of the pandemic, where a lot of things have shifted, and we are also currently not doing in-person research. These resources can really be a tremendous asset to continue to allow research. So I will stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jessica, who will now talk about the DPLA project.
Hey, thanks, Sally. Can you all see this okay? Confirm with me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, so in addition to the collections now available through the CLEAR grant that highlight the history of the AUC and the AUC institutions, Woodruff Library is partnering with the Digital Public Library of America and Pivotal Ventures to digitize collections related to Black women's suffrage and activism to provide digital access to materials documenting the roles, rights, and experiences of Black women in the women's suffrage movement, and more broadly, women's rights, voting rights, and civic activism between around the 1900s through 1960s. The collaboration is powered by funding from Pivotal Ventures, an investment and incubation company created by Melinda Gates. Funds will enable the partner institutions to digitize artifacts related to the history of Black women in the suffrage movement, and more broadly, women's rights, voting rights, and civic activism, in order to make these important collections more widely accessible. The centerpiece of the Black Women's Suffrage Collection is a new website that will host materials related to Black women, as well as original content providing historical context. Woodruff will have collections in this larger digital collection, and is currently digitizing content as part of this project and making it available on our own digital collection platform, Radar. We will complete the digitization and metadata creation of over 5,000 items, including photographs, correspondence, scrapbooks, and printed materials from some of the following collections. The Neighborhood Union is a great example of community-driven, women-led organizations that quickly became one of the most vocal supporters of Black communities in the 1960s civil rights movement, and is an example of the collections that highlight and tell the story of Black women working towards equity and civil rights. Southern Black women have a long history of organizing and implementing programs to improve quality of life for Black Southerners. Within their clubs, services were instituted such as daycare centers, kindergartens, medical clinics, reading rooms, libraries, settlement houses, and art and academic classes. These clubs brought attention to and organized petitions for police reformation, better health services, proper sanitation, and equal voting opportunities. They emerged as a vocal arm of the Black community petitioning against and protesting segregation and discrimination faced by all Blacks. In 1908, Lugina Burns Hope, along with 8 other women in the West End neighborhood of Atlanta, initiated the Neighborhood Union to address housing, health, education, and voting rights for Black communities. She also worked to bring equality to Black communities through her work in the NAACP, the YWCA, the Urban League, and the Commission on Interracial Cooperation, which later became the Southern Regional Council. She was also a member of the National Association of Colored Women's Club, the National Council of Negro Women, and the International Council of Women of Darker Races. Throughout these collections, the women were not only working for only but one thing, but equality in many, many areas. Grace Towns Hamilton was the first Atlanta African-American woman elected to the Georgia General Assembly in 1965, and was a key figure in changing and promoting the city of Atlanta. Before her time in office, she was the executive director of the Atlanta Urban League from 1943 to 1960. The Atlanta Urban League was established in 1920 as an affiliate of the National Urban League to be a formal, organized vehicle for addressing social and economic problems of Black Atlanta. She also sponsored numerous bills within her Georgia General Assembly time, and her collection focuses on her work for abortion rights and expanding and political representation in the city, county, and state governments. Hamilton was architect in the 1973 Atlanta City Charter, which was an attempt to halt gerrymandering and allowed more Black representation to be elected to the Atlanta City Council in numbers proportionate to their part of the city's population. We will be digitizing her administrative records, which include her efforts leading campaigns for the AUL, as well as improving housing, education, voter registration, and healthcare for African Americans. Her records give a behind-the-scenes look into her communication with city and national officials to improve housing, the League of Women Voters, her development of voter registration drives in the city, and her work with the Atlanta School Board on desegregation in the 1950s, and much more. The Southern Regional Council papers at Woodruff Library highlight the reform-oriented organization headquartered in Atlanta. During the late 1940s and 50s, the council focused on interracial cooperation and struggle against massive resistance in the South. The organization promoted voter registration, political awareness, and racial equity. The VEP was formed under the SRC in 1962 in cooperation with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the NAACP. The Voter Education Project was organized to educate African Americans and the rural poor on voting rights. It expanded to include citizenship training, publication of materials on voter registration, and funding for voter right efforts by organizations including the League of Women Voters and the National Council of Negro Women. Digitization of materials representing the work of these two organizations, including correspondence, educational publications, photographs, and funding information, will prove invaluable for the study of African American women's suffrage movement. And finally, the Johnson Publishing Company Clipping Files collection contains research files of writers and editors affiliated with the JPC. Johnson was a publisher of Ebony and Jet magazines and was the largest African American owned publishing company in the United States. Included in this project are news articles, correspondence, and other items highlighting work from the National Council of Negro Women, founded in 1935 by Mary Bethune, and Black Women in Politics. So the goal of this project is to bring these collections to new light, not only to leave the digital files static, but to engage with these materials in new and innovative ways and provide an opportunity for researchers, students, faculty, and communities across the world to be able to interact with these incredibly valuable and largely overlooked segments of American history, women's suffrage, and civil rights work. With this in mind, these materials are being used at the AUC Library through our digital repository titled Radar, also through digital exhibits, through digital humanities projects, and instruction assignments. With both of these collections, with Our Story and the DPLA Women's Suffrage collections, there are several ways to access these materials. For all publications and photographs, as I mentioned before, you can visit AUC's digital repository Radar, which can be found through the library's website, as well as the Digital Library of Georgia and the Digital Public Library of America. For all newspaper inquiries, you can visit the Digital Library of Georgia and the Georgia Historic Newspaper Database. Some of the newspaper and publication collections may not be complete runs. There might be some gaps, but we did our best to cover as much as we could with the collection with what we had access to. And also please visit the Black Women's Suffrage Collection portal through the DPLA for more information about the project and to follow the materials as they go live over the next year. And Holly and I would like to thank you all for your time. And if you have any questions after listening to this and seeing us for the project, please reach out and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.